I'm Paula Storm. Thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. Finally, I've got a chance to have a sit down with the beautiful Heather Hopkins from South Australia. Now, as you know, we did the Slow and Steady quilt together. So I did all of the piecing and Heather did all the beautiful quilting. So I've asked her to sit down with us today. We're at the Handy Quilter Academy on the beautiful Gold Coast. And we've finally taken about 10 minutes in our lunch break to do a video for you. All right, so I asked Heather to tell us just a little bit about some of her little tricks and tips. And so what she thought she might show us first of all is how she does her swirls. So thanks for joining us, Heather.
Paula.
Thanks for taking your lunch break off to show us how to quilt. Okay, so in the first row, we did the cathedral windows. So I've got this little block here. When we did the cathedral windows block, Heather's done some beautiful swirls out in the outside space. So you've got some tricks. Can you just show us what you, or how you do swirls particularly?
Okay, so swirls can be a little bit crazy for ladies that are beginning with this sort of a design because they're not sure which way to go with their swirls. So the best way that I can explain it is to draw or to stitch a little bit of a curve. So we don't need much, it's just a little bit of a curve. And when we've got to this point, you can actually stop. And why I get the girls to stop at this point is so they can think about what direction they're going to go outside. Okay. So on this one, I've come in, and I'm actually going to continue the curve back out, but coming on the inside of it. Okay. And all the way back around to the start. Okay. Close to the start.
Yep.
Okay.
So when you start doing a swirl, would you maybe start on the edge of a pieced block, or do you start in the middle, or how do you
pretty much start anywhere with a swirl design because it will end up as a big fill. So if you're starting on the edge and working across, if you're say on a long arm machine, or if you're working to fill an area, I might start in the corner or in the middle or just anywhere with a swirl.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So to continue from this one, we'll come out with another swirl. Now you can stop here and think about it, and then come back out with the swirl like that. Okay?
Beautiful. So you come back to about, I would say, 3/8 of an inch from where you started.
Yes.
Is that what you always do?
Not always.
No?
But the swirls just, at the moment, obviously we're just working on a blank canvas, but swirls I would size to fit within an area, so I make them whatever size needs to fit in that space.
Okay, so on our first row, for example, you would have done them quite a lot smaller, I'm assuming?
They were a lot smaller, so on this row, after it had been ditch quilted, the swirls were just different size with whatever could fit in the area, so there might be some smaller ones, there was some bigger ones in there. So to fill in the actual area to make a good cluster of the swirls is to keep going with them, coming out. And if I just continue like this, they'll start to make a bit of a funny shape.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I like to do is to backtrack or travel around them. So we're just going to bounce around these guys. Put another one in up here.
So that one you've sort of changed directions. You've gone in the opposite direction. So where you were going clockwise, now you've gone anti-clockwise.
Yes.
Okay. Even though you've finished a lot of those already, you're still going back in when you need to.
Yes.
And you're echoing?
Yes. Yeah. So what I find what ladies have trouble with swirls is they're not getting these points in their swirls. They end up like a little hook or a little bobbly bit in
I
there.
do that all the time.
Roundy bit.
And also the problem I get is on the back, my top thread's being pulled to the back and I get a little...
Yes.
So how do we fix that?
Okay, so how we fix that is stopping on this point. So let me just, for starters, do it how I see a lot of first-time swirlers. They'll come in and they get this bubbly bit and then come back
Yeah.
out. Alright, might look a little like something like that. Okay, so then
That's
rounding.
just like mine.
Alright, so what's actually happening here is when you're coming into the swirl, you're coming in and you're going, oh sugar, where am I going?
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
So if you're thinking, oh sugar, where am I going? Stop.
Okay.
Okay, so stop in your point in here because that'll stop you getting bobbly bits on the back.
Okay.
Okay, because there's too many stitches happening there while you're thinking.
Yeah.
Or if you're there and you're going, oh, which way am I going? You're moving it while you're trying to think about it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what I want you to do while you're learning your swirls is to come in to that point, stop,
Yeah.
have a think about it. Am I
And
going
then
to come
think
back
about
on the inside or am I going to come back on the outside?
Okay, and when you're stopped, are you using that time to think about where you're going to go next, or is it just second nature for you now?
Well, it is, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea too. So while we're at this stage, if I'm thinking about which way I'm going to come out of this swirl, but I would be looking, I want it to come back over here for the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so you're looking for that next empty space as well.
Okay, so can I borrow the marking pen, because I just want to try something. Okay, so for me, my biggest problem is how do I fit swirls into an actual block? You've lost your marker. Okay, so if this was the edge of my block, for example,
Yes.
and I had to fit a swirl into this small section or into the corner, how do I deal with that? Because sometimes I feel like, oh, I have to do another swirl, and then I do a small one, and it looks so much different to
Right.
everything else.
Yes, okay.
So how would I fix that?
All right, so what I would do in this case is this is where you use your echoes to fill in those areas. So
Okay.
let's just fill in this little area here. So if we have a look at this now, we're not going to want to try and squash another little guy in there.
No.
So we're going to come around and we're just going to echo back around this one and then echo around that one.
Okay.
Okay, then we might put a little smaller one in there. Okay, and then use those to echo.
Okay.
Okay, so that's filled that area in nice.
It has, and so you don't always have to put in a whole nother swirl
No.
to fill in a smaller space like that.
Yeah, so if you use your echoes to go around the shape that's already there, it's actually just increasing the, I guess, the size or the look of that swirl rather than trying to put a little guy in who's going to look very obvious, like there's
Yeah.
a little space and I
It's
put this
gonna
little
look
guy
like
in
you're
there.
running out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so use
Okay.
those travel lines or echo lines to go around your swirls to help fill them in and make them bigger.
Okay. I love watching you work. Okay, well thank you so much for
Thanks,
sharing your tips on
Paula.
swirls today. Now we're going to be back with some more videos. We're going to show you what we've done on the first two rows. So for on this one, what's this called? The cathedral window row, and also our other block, the scrappy squares. So we're going to have a look at what we've done in those ones as well.